Hello, welcome. Grab a tea, grab a coffee, grab some popcorn, and let's have another late night chat. So I think people of this generation and in today's age have such a skewed idea of what love is. And I really truly believe that love is not just a feeling, because if it was a feeling, that means that it would constantly come and go, which it does. And that means that no one would be able to stay with each other, like together, for all of their lives, because once that feeling, when they're like, 10 years in, it means that, because they don't feel that anymore, they should break up, which a lot of people do. I feel like my hair looks really weird. Okay. And I think because love is meant to like transcend that feeling, and don't get me wrong, I feel like you're meant to be attracted to someone in order to grow love, but then again, I also feel like you can love someone without having that initial attraction. Maybe it's easier for women than it is for men, but I feel like even if someone's not necessarily your type or attractive, and then you get to know them and they have like the purest heart, they're so funny, and then suddenly you're attracted to them because their soul shines through their outer being. So I feel like that way is possible, of you loving someone without being attracted to them. But I feel most of the time there's always this initial sort of attraction or feeling, not that like you're gonna love them one day, or my light died, well, I hope it's okay. Not that you know that you're going to be with them or anything, but that you just have this feeling of like, they're good looking, or like, I have some sort of attraction to them, even if it's not based on looks, And then I feel like a lot of people these days want this spark of emotion and feelings of like, he made me feel this way, or he took me out and we had the most amazing dinner, and I feel like a fire being ignited in my soul or something, and fireworks when we kissed and it was so good. And I feel like that's what all the movies portray today, in this day and age, that love is meant to feel like that and it's meant to be like that. And then you get into a relationship, and fair enough, maybe it feels like that in the beginning, but then you soon, this is what I've witnessed, you soon realize that all these relationships that start with a wildfire of emotions always burn out. I'm not saying that's the case for every single one, so maybe some of them stay married their whole life, and I applaud that, but for a lot of them, they burn out and they start to argue, or they realize that this person isn't who they thought it was. And then once that love fades, or that feeling of love fades, then they just end it, because they feel that they're not in love anymore. So why would they continue being with that person that they can't love anymore? But for me, I feel like love is so much more than just a feeling. Like, yes, this feeling of love is always gonna be there, and it's always gonna go, and it's always gonna come back and stuff. Hopefully it's gonna come back. But I think that love is a choice, and it's a choice you make to love someone through the thick and the thin, and it's a choice that you make that even when you don't feel that feeling of love towards them, you're still going to choose to love them every day, even if it's a struggle, even if you have fights, even if they do this or that, or you do something, you are going to choose to love them, because love is outside the capacity of just a feeling. Does that make sense? And I think that's the problem with today, is that once people get into arguments or issues in their relationship, it's just straight away like, out of it, because they know they can find someone else in this day and age, and they're not going to bother getting over these hurdles and these arguments, because it's going to be easier somewhere else, But then I think once you get to this stage of having to choose to love someone when you're arguing, And when you're not feeling that love, I feel like once you can get over that stage of choosing to love them, then the feelings will hopefully come back of love. And I think they'll be a lot stronger. And then I think people realize that the love that they had for them before is like nothing compared to the love they have for them now, because all those struggles and all those arguments and everything that they actually worked through to get over has made the love so much bigger and so much more infinite than just the feeling that they felt that they were in love with them with. And yeah, but I feel like movies always portray love as this romantic feeling, and oh my gosh, I saw a prince and he was riding on his carpet and he took me for a ride and and then I fell in love and it was happily ever after. But that's not the reality. And it's also not the reality that you're always going to feel these feelings towards that person. Like once you're married or once you're together, it's never gonna be straightforward like a happily ever after, sadly, because we're not in a Disney movie, you know. And even though it's sad that that isn't the case, I think it's also so beautiful that how much the love can grow if you can get over hurdles. And I think there's an extra layer of growth and of love that humans can achieve by the bond that they create if they can get over these arguments and get over these challenges and difficulties that arise within their marriage or anything. Because it's just like if you had that feeling of love and then you were always in love with them and you had no challenges or nothing happened, I think yes, it would be nice, but I feel like the love wouldn't be able to grow because there would be nothing to force it to grow, if that makes sense. Whereas when you do these challenges together and you work on it and you work on choosing to love that person every day, then the love grows as if you're watering something, because it's difficult to do, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think I don't have that much else to say on it. I want to know what you guys think. If you think it's a feeling, if you think it's a choice, if you think love exists, if you don't think it exists. But honestly, I feel like love stems from the heart of God. And I think God is love and he made this universe through love. And even though there's other things like, I don't know, like intellect or physicality, your will, emotions, etc., I think love is the fundamental core of all of that and why everything was created the way that it was. And I had this experience like last year. This is what like truly I think made me come closer to God and everything. Well, not that I think, I know it did. Like this is the pivotal point that I was like, damn, like he really is there. And I was at the point I was doing some conditions of like praying for 40 days, and this was my third one that I was doing, that I started, because I felt that at the end of the second, oh, I cracked my knuckle. At the end of the second one, I felt God still wanted me to do another one, and it was very frustrating because I didn't understand why I had to do another one. Because, you know, praying and reading for like 20 minutes or 40 minutes every single day for 40 days, 3 times that, is actually so difficult when you have never, when you're not used to praying every day, or you're not used to doing these things. It's very difficult. I can tell you more of my story of how I got there in another video, maybe, if you're interested. I don't know. I think I'm always scared of being judged for my experiences and beliefs and stuff, but I need to get over that fear. But anyway, so yeah, so then I decided to just do it, because I was like, if God wants me to do it, there must be a reason. And I started it, and I believe it was 3 days into this 40-day condition. I was in bed, and like between the period of when I felt that he wanted me to do another one to when I had this experience, I felt like God kind of left in that way. I felt he wasn't really there for those I think it was 5 days or a week. But then anyway, so then the third day I did my condition in the morning, like prayer and reading and stuff, and at night I just had this overwhelming feeling that I should pray again and that I should do something. But I was actually on holiday with a couple of my friends, and we were all in the same room and they were sleeping, and I was like, okay, well, I can't exactly like just start praying, so maybe I'll pray in my mind and just lay here and listen to some worship music, like Christian worship music, and just kind of praise and thank God and everything in my head. And so I was doing that, and while I was doing that, my whole body just began to feel so warm and kind of tingling, and it literally felt like I was receiving a massive hug. And in that moment I felt so much love, like unbelievable amount of love that I've never ever felt in my life. It was like 10 times, 100 times more than any human could ever give to you in love. And it was so overwhelming, and I was crying, and I was trying my best not to wake up my friends with all like my tears. So I was like silently crying, but it was so much and I couldn't stop. I could not stop. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I think it was like an hour I was still crying, and like I just couldn't make it stop. And like the emotion of so much overwhelming love like flowing into me and around me was so much to bear, but in a good way. And it was so weird that I couldn't stop crying. And then I had this voice kind of came to me that I should read some. So before this, I'm so bad at telling stories because I can never like get the right order. But before this, I went to like let's say like a Christian sort of workshop, and we got this booklet of just words and things to read basically. And I had this voice while I was experiencing that to tell me that I should read this book as like just read it, just read a page or something. And I was like, oh, but like I could just go on my phone and, you know, type a website in and read something from that website, and, you know, I'll read some words for the day, some more words for the day. And this voice just kept telling me like, no, you have to pick up that book and go read it. And I was like, oh, but like, you know, it's the middle of the night. If I want to actually see and read that book, I have to go all the way to the toilet and turn the light on, because I can't turn the light on here because my friends are sleeping. So I was kind of arguing with this voice for like a minute, and then eventually I was like, you know what, like, let me just listen to my conscience for a bit. Let me just listen to this voice that's telling me to do this. Let me just listen. So I got up. I was still crying hysterically. I got up, I grabbed the book, and I went to the toilet, and I just sat down in the toilet and I prayed, and I was like, okay, God, like, you wanted me to read this book at this time of night. It was like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. And I was like, I don't know why you want me to read this book, but whatever you want to say to me, please just say it through this what I'm going to read. And then I opened the book, and wait, let me get the book so then I can read to you exactly what I read at that moment. 1 minute. So then what I read, the very last sentence that I read was, therefore, although this may be the first time some of you have seen me, you are all privileged to have the experience of being bound eternally with me in love. And once I read that, I started bawling even more. Like, I could not control my tears and my emotions, because I opened it to a random page, right? Like, this wasn't just the first page. This was, I prayed, I opened it to a random page, and that's what I read. That was the last sentence I read from something so small. And I broke down, because what I read there of being bound eternally in love with him, with God, is exactly what I had been feeling the hour prior in bed while I was listening to my music and everything. And I had never experienced such a thing before. And it was so overwhelming. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I never had an experience like that with God before, ever. And I was like, you know what? Even if other people think that that's crazy or that that's just a coincidence or anything, it's like, I can no longer deny the experiences that I am now experiencing. Because in the past, I would always experience something small or something, and I would be like, oh, it's just a coincidence, or like, I don't think it's God, or like whatever. But then for me, just because the amount of raw emotion and crying and feeling that I had never ever felt before, immense, like unchanging, what's the word, like, love. I also just want to add that I know this whole thing, I was talking about how love isn't a feeling, and then I go on to say my experience of feeling God's love, but I still don't think love is a feeling, because like that feeling I experienced was so much more than just a feeling. It was like yes, it was a feeling, it was an overwhelming feeling of unconditional love, but love in the sense of like, I'm not giving you this feeling, I'm loving you because no matter what you've done, I've always loved you, and I've always been there to love you, if that makes sense. And like, when I had that experience, I just had such a feeling of like, no matter what I did, God was always around. And even 10 years prior, when I was crying, asking God where he was, I had like flashbacks of those moments, but then I could see that God was always there. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, I could see that God was always there, and he never left me. I just couldn't feel him in that moment. And it was such a beautiful experience, because it was just so unconditional, and not just a feeling, but a pureness of, I've loved you through everything. So I just want to add that even though I really do not think that love is just a feeling, the way I experienced that love at first instance, or maybe not at first instance, but I guess, was through a feeling to allow me to understand more, I think, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's when my love for God like fully came into light. And don't get me wrong, there's days when it's still a struggle to pray or anything, but that was when my faith like fully, properly just went, like, before it was whiffy waffy, it was not there much. And then I never thought I always heard about people having sort of experiences with God or hearing stuff or anything, and I never thought I would experience something that strong, like feeling wise. Yeah, I have a lot of other stories, especially in the past year. Like, I just feel like so much spiritually happened for me that was like so strong for me that I never thought I would change my ways, if that makes sense. But yeah, and maybe that sounds a bit off topic of what I was speaking about, but I just wanted to say that because I feel the core of love in humans is the very core and essence of God, and everything that he made is through love, and his love is so unconditional that I truly believe that if anyone has ever felt the core unconditional love of God, they would never be able to reject or deny him, if that makes sense. I'm not gonna cry. I feel like I always tear up sometimes when I say stuff like my experiences, but yeah, I'm not gonna cry. But yeah, I just feel like if people were able to feel how much God loved them, I just don't think you could possibly not love him after that, or not believe in him after that. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I want to know if you guys have had any experiences with God or spiritual stuff, and how it's changed your life, if it's changed your life, if you've experienced God's love. And yeah, please just tell me. I want this to be a safe space where like I can say my thoughts and my experiences, and you all can share your thoughts and experiences, and know that even living in such a secular world where people are judged for their religious beliefs, and that's how I feel a lot of the time, know that there are so many people who still believe in spirituality and believe in God, and that you are not alone in that, and there's so much love to be given through him. I feel like it's so dark, I'm so sorry, but I need to charge my other light, so I hope you can still see me. But yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. And yeah, I'm just so grateful, and I hope that you all had a good week, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.